Hello there. Today we are going to ask very important questions. The most important question today is how to get rich building a vertical chat GPT wrapper, obviously. Let's ask that to our AI. Oh, you want to get rich by building a vertical chat GPT wrapper? That sounds like a lot of work for not much gain. Have you considered just using React? Well, actually, it's not a lot of work and it's really easy to do with Datastar, but it does not seem so hard to do. It doesn't seem hard, that's just because you haven't tried it yet. It's a lot of work, why not just use React? Maybe we should switch to someone different. How to build a chat GPT wrapper. Yeah, that sounds better. So we are going to build this. Here we build this. You see that we have the interface of ChatGPT, we have some script tags, not properly escape. As you see, it's I can interact with this user input here. Code formatting is not perfect, but we are going to see how to build ChatGPT vertical wrapper, and so you will be very, very rich and raise billions of dollars after this video. This is going to be very simple. We are going to use just some Datastar. Can we start looking at the code? Why not just use React? Because we are going to understand the code for once. Let's go. Let's take a look at our file, starting with the imports. We are using Quad from the backend. Notice here that I use escape to be able to escape some HTML characters in the API response. I use the SDK helpers, some very common imports here, and then HTTPX, which is a Python library to make asynchronous HTTP calls. Normally I use requests to make API calls, but here you see we want to be able to stream text as it comes, so HTTPX is quite nice. Make a long story about T3Chat. You see we want to stream the text as it comes. And Markdown for the formatting. Add some Markdown formatting. So we have some bold elements, titles, stuff like that. So we are just going to need these two imports. For the configuration, load.env to load my secrets, and then some parameters for the LLM that I am going to use for the API. I am going to use Mistral, Cocorico, we are in French, so Codestral is a really great language model. I'm going to be using that. And that's alright for the setup. Some instructions, so we have some 2 characters. PNG, this guy, and CEO, this guy. Of course, as you've noticed, PNG is really opinionated about React, no matter the question, and CEO is more plain, let's say. We are going to initialize the conversation history for this specific user, but this is local, so I just put a list there. The helpers, we are going to see this later. and the utils. For the application, before I request, I store the current character in the session object. So it starts as PNG, but if I was talking to CEO and I refresh the page, I'm still on CEO. When I refresh the page or when I access it, so the home page, it resets, as you've seen, the conversation history. I could have saved it in a database, I just don't overcomplicate it for the demo. I erase it and I render index.html. Let's look at the file that we return in index.html. And as you see, there's not much to it. We are just importing some custom CSS, Datastar, of course, and for the animations, I still use anim.js, link in the description, so I can do these little animations on the character, and the spinning effect as well. For the body element, as we've seen in the previous video, nothing too fancy, just an empty main element which will be initialized when it is loaded by a GET request to load. Notice here a trick, and this is something I really like about Datastar. We have a script that we want to load up front to animate the icon. We define two animations to shrink and rotate with anim.js, so really easy. But the image hasn't been loaded yet. We want to wait for that. So this is a trick you can do. You can just put an empty image with the correct ID, and thanks to Datastar morphing strategy IdeoMorph, you will be able to attach some JavaScript behavior that won't get erased during the merge. So it was like, should I import the script afterwards after I've sent my element in the correct place and stuff? You can just send placeholders, let the JavaScript do its work while the SSE is streaming down the latest and initial content. So nice trick here. On this load request, what we are going to do is check who is the current character in the discussion, append it to a new conversation in our conversation history. So the history of the conversation is just the role of the person, if it's the user or the assistant or the system instructions, and the content, so the instructions that we put for the current character. And then I just use merge fragments, and for the fragments, you see, I use a function that I called main view. Let's take a look at it. So main view is a helper which takes 3 arguments and will return the HTML corresponding to the state, basically. So the current state of the conversation, the current status, if it is ready and the user can input something, or it is running and I want to disable some control while it is running, and the current character. If the status is ready, so ready to input some stuff, I write my chat bar as such. So just a really simple chat bar, the image of the character. When I use Datastar with a data on click with a post to switch, so you can infer that the switch route is going to switch from one character to another. I could have I want to save it in the session. I want this to be in the backend to know current state of the conversation. So I use a specific route for that. Then the form. We've seen this pattern before. Just put a form with data on submit, post to message, and it will make a post request with the value of question here. So question, this element. Data on key down on the input play shrink. So this is the animation that I have defined in anim.js, which give me this nice bouncing effect when I type, when I put key down. And if I want a chat bar to be disabled, I would put another chat bar, onload play rotate, so to indicate, to have this spinning effect, and disabled on the input. Make a really long story, and you see that when I will press enter, the input will disable, the image will be replaced by another one with a different function attached to it. Here the input is disabled, see? That's a really long story. So okay, some nice UX, UI that you can have. Then I'm going to take every message in the conversation, append them in a big div. So with their role. Here I use Markdown to format it. And then I construct my big main element. So DID, so that Idiomorph knows how to do its job. I attach some attribute. So this is how I do the color switching from one character to the other. I just add some attribute to main, and if we go to the CSS, if the root has a main element with attribute PNG, some colors. If it's main CEO, other colors. So I just changed the definition of colors. I don't have to do much more, and I use the as from CSS to make it really nice. Div ID equals answer, and then I put all my messages. Notice here this little trick: data onload equals answer scroll top equals and scroll height. So this is a snippet of code to have the overflow effect. What happens is that every time the UI is refreshed, see this element answer is scrollable. Every time the UI is refreshed, on load, I adjust the level of scroll. If status equals running, of course, because when I am done answering, I want to be able to disable that so that the user can scroll. And because I have really fine control on my UI with Datastar, because I am building it from the backend, it is really easy to do. See, I have this spinning effect. Now I can't look up, but once it's done, I can. So this is a function that, given a state, will construct the corresponding HTML, and then I just have to merge it, which is what I have done with load. Now we will take a look at what happens when we post a message with the input. We obviously are going to use some asynchronous generator for this, because we want to stream the response as it goes. If you take a look, you see at the end, we are going to still use merge fragment and main view, because we have a robust function which, based on the state, outputs some HTML. So why not use that a lot? The event, I'm going to use the stream with context decorator to get the session element, something very specific to Quart. If you don't understand that, don't worry. I get the question, I escape it, and then I create a coroutine with my function askGPT. AskGPT is going to depend on which API you use. I would recommend using OpenRouter at the moment. It's very good to be able to call different LLMs. I am using Mistral API, a little bit different, but let's see this step by step. Headers, I pass my key. Conversation, add to conversation the question that was just posed. So we start by this. Add to conversation is a really simple helper, as you can see. Conversation, history, append, role, and content. And returns conversation history. So I get back the new conversation. I just create a payload with the conversation, the model, the temperature, and I specify that I want to be able to stream the response. Most LLMs are able to do that. And then this is a bit complicated. This is how you do asynchronous request with HTTPX. With the client, you post to a URL and you get back a response. If the response is okay, we have a status code of 200. We append the response, so we prepare it with some empty content, and for every line that will be output, we parse it, we look that everything is alright, we look for the content, the delta, stuff like that. This is going to depend on which LLM you are using. If you are using Mistral, you can do this, take a look at the response that you have. To help you better understand, I will print the conversation history on each step. So if I ask, how are you? I'm functioning as intended, and you see that every time I have this conversation history, how are you? The system that was provided by the character, the user question, how are you? Role, assistant content, first empty, and then I'm functioning as intended, thank you for blah 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 blah, until the final answer. And when the assistant is out of stuff to do, I don't return anything. Why is that? I could, for example, here just put yield the new content and take it back, or yield okay, re-render now. We have a new chunk. This is not what I am going to do, so let's get back to our message route. What I am going to do instead is create a coroutine. So I say to Asyncio, okay, run this. And while it is not done, update the view of the user with my function main view, unsleep for 100 milliseconds. So this way I have a form of back pressure. I decide when I want the content to be updated. Eventually, if you store it in the database and you see that nothing moved, but it is really so cheap as an operation that this works really well. For example, if I have a really bad CPU or a lot of users, I can decide to render every 2 seconds. So let's see if it works. Make a really long story. Two. Okay, so you see that I'm not synchronizing the chunked response. I'm just updating the state in my backend, and I can decide when I want to trigger new renders on the user through this open SSE connection. When I am done with the task, I re-render a new view, but the status goes from running to ready, and the user is able to interact again with the page, send another message, and stuff like that. Because we keep the whole conversation history, we can have sustained conversation. I will update the refresh rate. Okay, let's speed it up a bit. I reload. My name is Luis. What's my name? Your name is Luis. Yeah, I have appended stuff to the conversation, and I send that to the LLM each time, and I re-render it also each time. If OpenAI does it, you can do it for your website without any problem. Lastly, the switch route, nothing really interesting here. Just get the current character and switch to the new one, so PNG if CEO, CEO if PNG. Change the system prompt at the beginning of the conversation history and trigger a new render with it. Let's do a quick recap of what we've learned. We are going to use Quart, HTTPX, Markdown to make an asynchronous request, style the framework, some configurations for the LLM here and for ourselves, two helpers, add to conversation to the global conversation history and main view, which was the function that based on the state returns the HTML, a function to make the ask GPT question, so to send the post request to the API endpoint, an index with a data onload that I will populate with my main view. On message, we send an event through an open stream that will update the main view as long as the question is not done answering, and the switch function to change from one character to another and adjust the system prompt. That's all there is to it. It was, as you see, a few lines of Python and really easy to do, so go build your own. The code will be in the description in my GitHub and open source, so feel free to use it and customize it, of course. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you will get rich building ChatGPT wrapper, vertical, AI, SaaS agent on the MCP. And yes, leave a comment, like, you can go to my website leg.ovh if you want to support the channel. I haven't put this demo live because I don't have the money to have people abusing my LLM keys, but we can work something out if you support the channel. Were you happy to be in this video? Oh, absolutely not. I was forced into this shit. I'd much rather be playing with my toys than being stuck in a video. Maybe the monetization is gone, but the poo emoji was somehow important to us. Comprenne qui pourra. Thank you all links in the description, and the next video will be really personal and great. So get ready for the next video. I really hope you will like it and that you have liked this one. See ya!